it's great, but still there. But we got images, like this one or this one.
I hope it's a shirt. That's my
no. It's the elk. The elk's the best one. Anyways, most rare. Can you guess? Most rare animal. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about DIN NFTs.
That was supposed to be my line.
DIN NFT is a device identification number, and every device that has been sold right now, all 776 of them, all have a DIN that is associated with those devices. Basically, it's a way for us to be able to, correctly identify that device with everything that goes on to that device.
Why haven't we talked about this before, and why is it coming up now?
It's coming up now because we are going to do a DIN NFT sale. Sale? You just said there was one on every device. What do you mean?
Yeah, we put the DIN NFT at our founders' devices inside the device already. It was a concept that it's always been there in our light paper, but now as we look at increasing the capacity and the workload that's come on board, we're looking at how do we actually increase the capacity of the network. And so now it's time that we talk about DIN NFT and how that goes to increasing our capacity.
I want to be clear though, all the original 1776, you already have your DIN NFTs.
We have all these workloads that are coming online, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we come forward. But we think our capacity is going to increase in September. And I've been running the manufacturing side of DeEEP and been working with our factory. There's a 16-week lead time to get product in.
The 16 weeks, kind of give me a rundown of where that comes into play.
So we use MIDI forums. We've been very clear about that. It's in our documents, the MS01 series. On each one of those boxes, it's not just a factory box that you're buying. It's a factory box with the DeEEP OS. And so it's a custom build. That build is a 10-week time frame for them to get all the components, the enclosures and boxes, and then all the hardware together and build the PCBs and assemble it. So it's a 10-week start from when we give them a deposit and tell them how many we want to the time that they ship.
Okay.
So you're always asking, isn't it a 10-week schedule?
Yes.
Well, it is at the factory. But then you got to factor in 2 shipping windows.
Okay.
So from the factory to us, the shipping time has been between 2 and 4 weeks. So as we talk about what the lead time for our customer, I go on the safe side of that at a 4-week time. So and that's transit. So what happens is it goes from the factory to Hong Kong and it goes through a customs process. Then it goes again from Hong Kong to LA through a customs process, and then it gets shipped to our warehouse. We're also going to have a warehouse most likely in the Netherlands or somewhere else in Europe where it will ship to as well. And then there's getting it to our end customer. So getting into the warehouse, turned around and shipped out. Then we're on another about 2 weeks. So that all said and done is 16 weeks.
Sounds like it'd be a lot easier if you just sent them directly from the manufacturer to the end user.
100% right. And as our network grows, we're actually looking to expand our hardware vendors. So one of the reasons that we have this DIN NFT is we don't want to be attached to a particular hardware vendor. And so as the network goes and you could buy from a different hardware vendor, you're connecting your DIN NFT and your software license to whatever hardware you're doing in the future. So right now it's paired to this Mini Forums MS01 box, but in the future you could pair it with any hardware that is compatible with the DeEEP Network OS.
What about even my own devices?
So right now we're limiting the DeEEP OS to be put on devices that are from approved hardware vendors. Eventually, we hope to have this bring your own device as an option. And I think this will be really great as the network goes. But first, we want to make sure that we're on a secure network and a secure platform. And that's why we're doing it with particular devices today.
Sweet. Okay.
So I'm telling you, it's 16 weeks. Can you go into where we're going to be at in September and why are we saying September is important to start the sale now?
Yeah. So what we see internally as we're adding new workloads like Playable and Grid and what was the most recent one? Helix nodes, all these different node networks. And we have a list of them that are coming out. Specifically, AVAX validators should be coming up soon. That's going to be a big one. We see that increase of customer base. And if we extrapolate that out, in terms of when we feel we're going to get close to that expansion timeframe. It's around September. So we need to prepare for that timeframe to be able to expand. So, and to be clear, the NFT itself, it is, it's there waiting for us for expansion. So we're not actually going to expand the network until we need to. But this gives us the opportunity to make it a little bit quicker at that point in time. It's like, hey, we need 530 devices. Let's go. And then those first initial buyers can come in there and purchase their device and then get it sent to them.
So we've always stated that we don't want to sell more hardware until the capacity of our network is at 60%. And that's on workloads and hosting. As we approach that 60%, or we think that we're going to get there, what we're doing on the hardware side is we're releasing an additional 30% hardware to the network. So we have 1,776 freedom devices, or at least that's what Nate would like to call them. So 1,776 founders devices, and a 30% increase in that will be 533 devices. So when our DIN NFT sale comes out, you'll see that the first tier of NFTs is a quantity of 533.
Yeah.
That'll go to another tier, 533 plus 1,776. Again, the 30% increase will be 690, and it'll just keep going on from there. So,
yeah, man, I was going to put a nice little graphic right here. It's probably in that right.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
Should look good. Are we going to continue just pushing out these DIN NFTs?
We're trying to anticipate where we're at in the marketplace. So we're going to open up the first 3 tiers. And why are we going to open up 3 tiers at once is we still want to limit the capacity of our network so that one person's not buying the bulk of it and not running the bulk of it. We're going to limit each tier to 5% that any one wallet can have. And so that's why we're going to open up 3 tiers at the beginning.
Gotcha. It's kind of a test bed too, right? We know what the DIN NFT is, and we have some other things that we're going to talk about, that utility of that DIN NFT. But in reality, we want to make sure that, we're not overselling the market either. Right? So, and then just monitoring the market. Who knows what the market's going to do? So we're continuing to push on all those workloads, and that's our main goal.
You talk about, as we bring in a workload, like what does that look like? Like how much of the workloads are we trying to host, and what does that mean for our network?
Internally, we look at like 3 different type of workloads, right? You have your nodes, which are like soft nodes. It's software that runs on a computer. And a lot of times it's just software. Sometimes you might have to stake with it, usually called a master node. And then after that, we look at validators, which is the next one that's in there. So validators are one of our top priorities internally. We bring that to the market, and those are a little more compute intensive to basically secure that network's blockchain. That's really what a validator is. And then the third one is virtual machines, right? Virtual machines, we'll talk about that here because that's down the road. So let's go to nodes, okay? Because that's our most popular one that we'll look at right now with a lot of people that are running them. And in that, we have 3 different types of customers that are there. We have nodes that are already out in the ecosystem. They're already being ran, like a Gala node. Well, the marketing that goes into that, if we were already launching Gala nodes, but if we were launching a new one like HighChain, right? So we don't have HighChain yet. It's on our list. So if we were to launch HighChain, there's already people that are using a different service. They're doing it at home. So we don't want to turn our wheels too much in that market. We definitely want to let people know about it, get it out there, let them know we can have this. They can bring it over, and it's there, and it will add workload. So it's on the roadmap for those people to get on there. The next level is new workloads to the ecosystem, meaning they are a new node, software node sale, and they haven't ran yet. That nobody's running them, or nobody's even got them yet. And so we want to kind of head that off from the get-go, because where are people going to run them? We want to be their first choice. We want to run 10 to 15% of that network. That's our goal. So we're going to do a lot of aggressive marketing. We're going to let people know what we can do for them, why we're the best choice, and get that to the people so they can bring their workload to us. We want to be really aggressive with those. We're going to see a lot of these scenarios with AVAX validators that come out. There's going to be a ton with L1s coming out, brand new ones. So that's one of our top priorities, because one, it requires a lot more capacity within the DeEEP device to run it. So it's going to be a higher paying workload, and it secures a network. And as we're going to be an L1 on AVAX, we want to be the L1 that runs L1. So that's kind of our top priority in terms of workloads that are going out there. And the validator is just great. I mean, you're securing that blockchain's network with it. So we want to be a very high-end service for that. So on a software node, and with those as well, I mean, the marketing with those goes the same on either end of it. We want to be very aggressive from the get-go if they're brand new coming out.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation this morning with the new L1 that's coming. So, we want to work on that aggressive marketing, but potential partnerships are the big ones, right? So if we get in early, we talk to these people and let them know what it is that we can do for them. It gets them excited too, because we're there to make everything easier, more streamlined for them and their customers, right? That's the goal, and to make sure that their network is secure. And so what can we do? One of the main ones is being a test bed.
Yeah.
So they are, people are constantly pushing out, different updates to their software that need to get pushed out. And instead of pushing it out to the entire ecosystem, obviously they're testing it internally, hopefully. But they have the ability to use us as a test bed. We have the ability to work with them to make sure that what they're pushing out is working.
Why is that important? We saw at least one of that here recently.
Yeah, we saw with Playable. Playable, they pushed out an update to their software node, essentially, and it brought down, the network was down. And it's been down for 3 days, I think. I think it's back up internally now. They just haven't pushed it out to the community yet. But we're looking at, trying to help these companies secure their network and anything like that. That's part of it. Don't just push it out to the network without full testing it, because now your entire network's down. So what's the whole point then if you're not running a secure network with uptime? So that's a big one that we can do, right? That's like our number one when we talk to them is like, we want to make sure you're up and running and your customers are up and running, so they're earning, right? They're paying money for these nodes or these validators. We want to make sure they're up and running. So that's number one. Another factor that we can do is once the DeEEP token is out, we can work on swaps on the back end. So people that are partners with us, they can pay in their native token, which essentially is going to use that token to then purchase DeEEP off the market, and that DeEEP goes to pay for that.
Okay, so instead of taking token off the market and paying the fees for that, they can actually use the tokens that they're generating from their node to pay for our hosting service.
Yes. Yeah. And we want to provide that for their clients and make it super streamlined, super easy. They don't have to go out and go to a DEX and swap it here and there. Just make it as simple as possible.
It gives more utility even to that project's coin.
Yeah.
So just talking through, so a lot of our customers don't have any nodes, they don't have any validators, they're buying into DeEEP. So just kind of talking about scale, and hopefully Manny can throw some of this up behind us, but some projects that are notable for us. So Gala, there's 36,000 nodes. Playable, 6,600 nodes.
Yeah.
Beam, you talked about 58,000 nodes. Get Aether. The scale of these projects, some of them are in the 6,000 node range, some of them are in the tens of thousands. And what we're talking about is trying to get 2 to 5% of the projects that, are common day, like already running, 10, 15% of premium projects. When you add all that together, it can be massive.
Yeah.
Just talk about scale and where we're going. We're templatizing how a workload goes out. Like, where are we going to be at 3 months from now? We're talking about September doing this launch. Where we're going to be at the end of the year.
So people are going to start to see workloads coming online onto their devices. We just had our first end-to-end test last week. Essentially what that means is from sign up all the way to a DeEEP device with no touching it. We're running it and taking it down, all through the night just to see all the different things that are happening. So with that, they're building it to where it is going to be incredibly easy for them to deploy a new workload. So, but what we've built out is a pattern for these main types of nodes. And so when new node comes onto the ecosystem, it falls into one of those places, and then ultimately they can run that through, put it onto our deck essentially so people can sign up for it. So it's going to be really quick, and we're going to start to see us rolling out 2 to 5 of these on a weekly basis of new nodes, whether that's already all 3 of those ones that we talked about. Premium partnerships, brand new nodes coming on the market, and then ones that are already out there.
We're going to bring on partners, and we have 5 NASAs that'll come on board for all those workloads you're talking about. So, we'll still have NerdNode running for sure, but now it's going to be NASAs powered by the DeEEP Network. And this is really powerful because it gives different voices, different communities access to essentially the node hosting services that we've done, but it just gives a broader audience and more marketing arms going out there saying, use the DeEEP Network. Our NASA is now coming onto DeEEP.
So the DeEEP Network's the network, right? And the NASAs, we want the NASAs to use that network.
Yeah.
But it's built by NerdNode. It's conflict of interest, right?
Like, yeah, like that's the problem, that the perception that we have today. What we're changing is, no, this is a network built for Web3.
And you say, like, yes, NerdNode's there and we do a great thing, but ultimately what it is we're going to provide the same great customer service, same great platform, and we're actually going to give that to these NASAs that are coming to DeEEP. Like, and we're taking NerdNode out of the equation.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good description of like what we're trying to do.
It is a conflict of interest. Like, we're going to have a talk today with another NAS, like in whatever 30 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And I want to portray to them that NerdNode is not a competitor to you. Like, we don't want you to view it that way. We want you to view the DeEEP network of what it is.
We'll figure out the best mechanism, as we get the DAC going and we can figure out how to transition. But the clear message is, if you want to be a NAS, if you are already providing those services, the backbone on DeEEP and what we've built through NerdNode, that can all transition. What we're trying to do is get all these nodes and validators off a centralized service and into a decentralized infrastructure. All right, let's kind of pull this all back to DIN NFT sale. So we started this conversation about why DIN NFT. We've gone everywhere. Not sure what order Manny will put these things in. But the two questions that I have in my head, one is, what exactly is a DIN NFT? We haven't covered it. So DIN NFT is a software license.
Yes.
That gets you a ability to buy a piece of hardware and deploy.
Is that it? Is there any utility that's going to come with this DIN NFT?
Yeah, great question. So there's governance. And maybe I'll let you talk about that because you kind of lead that.
Yeah, so governance, and I'm not going to go super deep into that because that's a whole nother hour-long conversation on the DAC, probably two. But essentially, we're breaking up governance within the Decentralized Autonomous Corporation, or BBLLC, which is probably what it's going to have to be labeled as, is 50-50. 50% of those votes are going to be the network itself. And that vote is tied to the DIN NFT. So that governance vote is tied to that DIN NFT. Founders' devices get a multiplier of that vote. So as we grow the network, those DIN NFT licenses that are tied to the 1776 are getting a multiplier. Everybody else will get one. And there will potentially be staking for everybody that's not a 1776 device owner. So that's governance style. Very short and sweet. We'll get into a whole nother conversation down that later, but governance is key on that. And they're half the vote with what comes down on the network. The other half is the corporation.
Okay. So the DIN NFT gets you a software license to become a DeEEP network operator.
Yep.
It gets you governance. It also gets you a place in line. So we're going to sell the DIN NFTs in tiers on the capacity release of hardware. So if you buy an NFT in tier 1, you'll have the first access to buy hardware when we expand the network.
Okay.
Same with tier 2 and same with tier 3. And so that's really where the DIN NFT is today. Is you got your license software, you got your governance, and you got your place in line to join the network when the capacity is increased. What are we doing for buying? I know we're talking about really cool NFTs, looked at some awesome images. There's a little bit of rarity in there.
Let's talk about that. So, I mean, we got images, and they're tied to the 3 names. Every device has three names to them. It's so animal, adjective, color, right? So with that, we've kind of created a AI generated image. You still got to mess with it, right, Emmanuel? AI stuff's, it's great, but still there. But we got images, like this one or this one.
I hope it's a shirt. That's my
no. It's the elk. The elk's the best one. Anyways, most rare. Can you guess? Most rare animal?
The anglerfish.
There is no anglerfish, but it's the cow.
Oh,
yeah. And the most rare color is white. So why do I talk about rarities? Does that matter at all?
So a DIN NFT with a rarity, it's going to get you a multiplier on your utilization token. And so there'll be a couple of different layers, and you can get 10x, 5x, 2x multipliers.
Multipliers on the utilization rewards. And we'll talk more about utilization rewards later too, because there's a lot more that'll come to those, but they don't always have to do with DIN NFT. So
let's talk about how to buy.
Okay.
So right now we're not selling the hardware. We are selling just the DIN NFT.
Correct. It's your place in line.
It's your place in line. You can buy up to 5% of all the tiers that are coming that are out there. Right now we have a website coming up. Depending on when you're watching this, it's either going to be a wait list. So sign up for the wait list so you get notified immediately when it drops, or you can go to the website potentially right now and actually buy your DIN NFT.
Right. That's exciting. So what do I pay with?
Well, you can pay with crypto or credit card.
I guess we didn't talk about that, the money part of it.
The money that we bring in, we're going to put in so that we have the devices on hand for when we have capacity.
Okay. Well, device-wise, like we've said before, essentially, then the cheapest the device is ever going to be was the 1111, and so we're standing by that. It's never going to be any cheaper than 11, or yeah, any cheaper than 1111. So, depending on where we're at and what we need in devices, like we know we may have to increase the price because we don't need to sell them super fast, or we really need to get them out the door because we had a big client come on. Wink, wink.
Yeah, so the DIN NFT is its own cost. It's a software license. It will be tradable. On top of that will be hardware that you have to buy. Right now, our anticipation is to keep that price at the 1111 for our next release. We're not putting that online. We're not doing a pre-order right now because we're still waiting to see what happens with tariffs, to be fair.
Yeah.
But right now, it's you buy the DIN NFT, and we'll do the hardware, 4 weeks from when it should be shipping.
I mean, that's awesome. We covered a ton here, a lot. Like, we're going to have questions that are going to come up. So we'll probably hold an AMA soon after this drops so we can answer more questions for people. And, you can, what can people do?
Go to the website and put your name on the wait list. And if it's not the wait list anymore, and you can just go ahead and buy as many as you can, up to 5% in each tier. We're glad to have you join the DIN NFT sale. And Nate, it's been a fun conversation. We have all of these around the table in the office, but nice to share what we're doing out to the public.
It's great. Good talking to you.